been a while since I've posted vacation and some other things in the mix. You know, I'm working on a new video now that is taking quite some time to put together, but I wanted to take a moment to sort of unscripted talk about this really great news that came out last week, that Warner Music and SoundCloud have come to an agreement to pay Warner artists using the fan-powered royalties, a user-centric payment model for songs that are streamed on SoundCloud's platform. That is big news. That is awesome. And I hope that it signifies the start of a shift towards a more equitable payment model, the more equitable payment model. And I was really excited about that. And then I read this article on Music Business Worldwide titled "On SoundCloud's New Deal with Warner Music," or "Why the Debate Over Fan-Powered Royalties is More Complicated Than Fairness." The article opens up with a scenario. Imagine you're in an office. Now imagine your entire team all rising to their feet, 300 people, blah, 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 blah. They gather in front of you and you stand on a chair and you say, "Good news, just over half of you will get a pay increase right here, right now, moving forward." People are like, whoop, whoop. The other side, you have to inform them, is that just under half of you will see your pay decrease. Then the question postulated at the end of that, do you even make it out of the office alive? And then he says, this, in a nutshell, is the potentially insurmountable barrier facing the widespread music business adoption of user-centric royalties. So the author of this equates being a musician who is effectively paid piecework to an office where the employees are paid differently based on a whole host of factors. Your experience, your level within the company, right? We don't expect the cashier at the checkout to make the same amount as the floor manager, and we don't expect the floor manager to make as much as the CEO, right? There is a sliding scale in payment depending on experience, which is often also related to length of time working in that industry, along with your education, and a whole host of other factors go into determining that pay. Also, of course, how good you are at negotiating your salary up to a certain point. That I'll come back to in another video. Dun, dun, dun. It's foreshadowing. But anyway, so unlike music, which is basically based nowadays with the stream, well, it always has been, who listens to your music and who doesn't, right? The more people who listen to your music, the more money you make. Experience or length of time in the music industry means bubkiss to your salary as an artist. It's strictly down to one metric: how many people listen to your music. So someone with 40 years, 50 years of lugging his kit to club after club after club, playing in front of half-empty crowds, he could be making peanuts. Meanwhile, Justin Bieber gets plucked out of YouTube from the comfort of his bedroom and his little acoustic guitar, picked up by Puff Daddy, and is a worldwide megastar. So it does not work the same in the music industry. So I find that just an absolute terrible analogy, right? This is apples to rump roast comparison. It couldn't be more. However, I guess the underlying sentiment that he's trying to say here is, yeah, there are going to be some artists who are going to be like, wait, I'm going to make less money by redistributing the income equitably? Hell no. I would hope that artists would have a sense of camaraderie here, right? That, I hope that they do, and say like, yeah, actually this is fair. Okay, I'll make less, but it helps support my fellow musicians around the world who are all struggling to make it, who all want to chase their passion and chase their dreams, right? The popularity doesn't decrease, and guys like Drake and Justin Bieber and Rihanna and so on and so forth, they still make tons of money in merch and all kinds of other deals and sponsorships and these kinds of things that elevate their income, I think, possibly beyond what royalties and a royalty redistribution could ever really have any kind of serious impact on. So first and foremost, I hope that the sense of camaraderie among musicians and performing artists, that the right thing will be done, that you wouldn't have artists speaking out against fan-powered royalties or user-centric payment, user-centric royalty payment model for the music industry, that they would support it even if it meant that they might earn a little bit less, because it's the right thing to do. And that is sort of the thesis here, I think, or what he's trying to get to, is that the author of this article is saying, like, well, I don't think it's going to happen, because I think that there are a lot of people, the real heavy hitters out there, are going to fight to keep the revenue system, the payout system, the way it is, because they don't want to lose that royalty revenue. I hope and I believe in my heart that as a broad stroke across all musicians out there, I think that there is this sense that we want to support each other, and that we want to help each other and see each other succeed. And I think that it must extend, and I believe that it would extend to the superstars in the music world as well. So what the author of this article postulates is that in order to keep those heavy hitters, this author is saying, hey, maybe what Warner has done in order to get this deal to go through and keep their roster happy is that their top performing artists who would stand to lose money on a move away from pro rata to the user-centric payment model, that they will still get paid out according to the pro rata system. And then whatever's left over, so the remaining pool, would then get paid out, distributed according to the user-centric model. First of all, I think that kind of defeats the purpose of the user-centric model, because it is about properly and equitably redistributing that revenue pool, doing it properly, actually. And so what would end up happening, I think, is that all you would see would be a little bit of a shuffling in the smaller artists, which is not likely to see any significant gains for them. But what it means is that some artists who were already making a little bit will now probably make less, because actually the pool and the calculations are skewed away from that entire segment anyway. So I hope that that's not the case, because that would not be right. Secondly, as has been sort of pointed out here in the French study back in 2021, and also in media's own research, they point out that user-centric royalty model is less gameable, right? So, guys like BTS and Justin Bieber asking their fans to stream on repeat will not generate additional royalties, because it wouldn't be pulling in revenue from other users. What that also means, because it's not gameable, it also means that these streaming farms where artists will pay money to get a boost in streams will also no longer be financially viable. Or the Dutch label that was releasing like sort of nature relaxation music under, I wanted to say Strange Fruit, but that's a very dark song, but it's something to do with fruit and something weird. And the artists basically they create songs for this label, which are just basically rain sounds with some other stuff going on it, and they're all like 35 seconds long, so that when people drop these things on repeat to have in the background, it just racks up royalty payments, right? So that's a form of gaming the system. Now, they had more streams and were making higher revenue than even some of these top artists like Ed Sheeran and so on and so forth. So gaming the system, I think, is potentially hurting the revenue distribution more than a switch to a user-centric payment model. Think about it. All this money, like streaming farms wouldn't exist if it wasn't profitable for the streaming, for the people who run the streaming farms. And artists wouldn't use streaming farms to generate fake plays and fake royalties if it wasn't financially beneficial. So with these, and through a system of gaming like this Dutch sort of sub-label did, where they said, well, 30 seconds counts as a play and is entitled to royalty payout, then we make only 30 plus second songs, and we do a load of advertising, get it everywhere, and we'll rack up the money as a result, which they did. When you take away the pro rata approach and you move to a user-centric approach, none of these work anymore. A streaming farm could only stream a song so many times before their revenue would be gone. So at best, an artist wanting more streams would only receive a maximum portion. Like, for example, let's say an artist wants to get onto some sort of chart, so they need a lot of streams to do that. Well, the stream farm pays $10 a month for a plan. They have a dozen phones or whatever, all going to be programmed to stream this artist's songs. The artist pays a chunk of money, gets those streams. He'll get some of that money back. Of course, he'll receive some of that money back in royalties. But in the user-centric model, he will only receive the maximum amount of royalties as this plans. To make it simple, let's take one song. Let's take one phone, one stream farm, and it's one phone, and that costs the guy $10 a month to operate. The artist says, I want 500,000 plays. So he pays a set of money to this guy who runs a stream farm, and all of those streams are now going to come from this one phone, this one plan, which is a $10 a month plan. Now, $6 or $5 or something like that is reserved for operating costs by Spotify. It's going to be on Spotify. The other $5, let's say to keep it simple, is then to be paid out as royalties. This guy gets his 500,000 streams or whatever. I don't remember how much I said, but 500,000 streams, and he gets his royalty check. It's $5. Whereas through a pro rata system, he would have gotten more than that $5 because money would have been coming in from all monthly streaming plans, because it was just this one phone, this one plan. It didn't matter how many streams that came off of that. There was a maximum amount of revenue that he could get from that based on the number of streams and based on the fact that that is a fixed pool that could be allocated. So right away, we then wipe out potentially an entire industry, or at least we reduce the influence that industry, that whole streaming farm industry can have, and how much it can impact artist payouts and artist streaming numbers. Of course, it could still be used to get numbers up there, but it won't have the same financial return that a pro rata system has, which arguably would make it less of an alternative for artists who are seeking to sort of get more plays. So after that sort of long-winded example or scenario, going back to this article and going back to the idea of this wealth redistribution that would happen, I would expect that at least some of that wealth redistribution that would happen in fan power royalties would actually be buffered by the fact that gamification would no longer work. So I can't crunch the numbers. I don't have all the data to do that. I am also not a mathematician. Even with a spreadsheet, I struggle with numbers at times. So don't hold me to that. And I would actually love to see if somebody out there watching this knows something about these numbers. Please reach out, get in touch with me, because I'd love to talk about this stuff more and really see, am I really crazy on this one? Or is there some possibility that some of that wealth redistribution would be buffered by royalty payouts that are being unjustly paid out by people who are otherwise gaming or cheating the system? I think that's kind of about it. On the whole, great news. Awesome news. This is a step in the right direction. I firmly believe that to be the case. I also want to believe that Warner has not inked that kind of a crap deal with SoundCloud, because I would hope that the artists on the Warner roster and artists all over the world, regardless of status, whether you're getting 100 plays a month to 1 million plays a month, I would hope that you would recognize the fairness of this model and opt to go for the more ethical route. And of course, we as consumers of music, we have a say in this too. We can switch over. We don't need to stay with Spotify. We can move over to Tidal and pay $20 a month for their premium tier to make sure that our artists are getting paid fan-powered royalties. We can switch to SoundCloud and stream through SoundCloud so that we know that at least our Warner artists, or the artists that we know that distribute through SoundCloud, will also receive fan-powered royalties, right? remember that our money goes a long way in determining what happens. If we don't spend our money in these areas, then we also don't necessarily help push the music industry in the right direction, in the direction hopefully that matches what we want, which is a fair payout for all artists, big or small. So that's it. Thanks for sticking with me to this. And like I said, if you have any knowledge, insider knowledge, if you are someone who really digs into this stuff and knows the numbers and knows how to crunch those numbers, hopefully better than me, please reach out to me. I would love to hear from you and love to talk to you and pick your brain and hopefully learn more about this as well. Thank you all so much for watching, and till next time. Cheers.